Welcome to UND Insider Weekly alongside Tom Miller and Brad Schlossman from the Grand Forks Herald, Paul Ralston from UND Athletics. I'm Tim Hennessy. Gentlemen, the volleyball team was on the road, and I think one of the bigger tests they were going to get, along with Portland State coming up, was Idaho State, and they passed that test. And then a team that gives them fits because of the style they play, Weber State, they took them to two-game lead in the Big Sky, cruising home to the title, right?
You know, I look at it this way. I knew Idaho State was going to be a tricky one, simply because they have the returning Player of the Year, the Bengals of Idaho State, in their setter, and you know they play very well at home, and you know that's a great road win. I don't care if it was 5 sets, 3 sets, doesn't matter. It's a great road win, and it set them up well to go into Weber State and kind of carry that momentum. So credit for North Dakota. They have gotten a little help along the way. Southern Utah upended Northern Arizona here the other day, so it expands their lead over the Lumberjacks, and they still have the 2-game lead over Portland State. So that was a big weekend. And it started with that win against Idaho State.
Done 4 out of 6 at home now to finish things up. Looks pretty good for a conference championship, doesn't it?
Yeah, 12-1 is pretty impressive mark for a team in the second year of the Big Sky that you know finished a little closer to the middle of the pack last year. So you know all these other teams are showing that it's not easy to cruise through the Big Sky. You know, having, like Paul said, Northern Arizona getting knocked off, Portland State fell a couple times. For UND to do what they've been doing and come back from at Idaho State, they're down 2 sets to 1. I think that's the second time now on the road they've come back and won in 5 sets. So you know they've kind of handled all the troubles they've had along the way, and you know just should be easier now at home, shouldn't it?
Anna Piaski, the freshman, I think that's key right there because Lonnie Munkeby, Lisa Parlick, those are going to be gone after this year, and you get a freshman that's contributing like she did, Big Sky Conference Player of the Week. That's huge for this team, don't you think?
I look at Anna Piaski as just a great asset that has developed this season, and certainly Lexi Robinson has been out with injury, and that has certainly brought her to the forefront a little bit. She's needed to take advantage of that opportunity, and she has grabbed a hold of both reins, so to speak, and ran with it. And she was the Big Sky Player of the Week. That's just a tremendous accomplishment by a young freshman who's being called upon to make big play after big play. It's definitely great to see her progressing.
Northern Colorado, Sacramento State this weekend for the volleyball team. The hockey team was at home. First NCHC contests at Ralph Engelstad Arena, and they lose to first time since January of 2010, I think, where they're swept at home. And Brad, my opinion on it was just St. Cloud State made a couple more plays than UND did through the weekend. I thought it was a series between two pretty good hockey teams that didn't give each other very much room at all.
There weren't a ton of scoring chances either way. I think St. Cloud got all 3 of their goals Friday night from point shots that just happened to get through traffic, go in the right spot. Saturday, UND didn't generate nearly as much offense as they need to, and part of that is probably because of St. Cloud. I think in the 10 years Dave Haxtell's been their head coach, the 5 games where they've generated the fewest shots, 2 of them are against St. Cloud in the last 11 months. So it's probably not a coincidence that they probably do some things well defensively, something UND is going to have to break through. But this weekend, going to Omaha, that could be their recipe, because Omaha is a team that Omaha is going to put a lot of pressure on UND. UND should put a lot of pressure on Omaha too.
Yeah, Omaha's going to get up and go, there's no doubt about it. Tom, you wrote about Drake Kajula last week, and he returned from his injury and returned in fine fashion. That first shift on Friday night, huh?
Yeah, first shift, you know, he lays out a hit and then dances a defender and gets on Fox Sports 1's highlights.
Play of the week, right?
Yeah. So, you know, his health is going to be big because they already lack a little bit of skill forward right now, and to have a sophomore in a season as he is, to have him back to full health after, you know, no one knew exactly how injured he could be, whether it was for the year, for a couple weeks, you know, for his career. When you're talking about neck injuries, that had to be encouraging.
Probably the most consistent line with energy and everything else has been Steph Patton, Connor Gorder, Colton St. Clair. They broke that up on Friday night, back together Saturday. St. Clair suffers an injury. He would be out probably till after Christmas. What does that do to this lineup?
Well, like you said, when he's in the lineup, that line has been going really well, and that hurts that unit for sure. So I guess it's a chance for someone else to come in the lineup, but those are pretty big shoes to fill, you know, because he's a guy who's not going to score a lot, but he plays his role to a T.
In the words of former women's basketball coach Gene Roebuck, it's a chance for somebody to step up.
It is.
Let's talk about the women's hockey team, and they fooled everybody and didn't have a couple players that everybody thought they'd have in Bemidji State last week, and a couple of good ones at that. But let's talk about the ones that were there, and a sweep by this team. Paul, Bemidji State's been a thorn in their side a lot too, but they got business taken care of in a big way on the weekend.
Very impressed. Obviously, Defoe is playing some very good hockey, and I think they looked at her last year as kind of developing her game throughout last season as a youngster, and now, you know, with as much ice time as she saw last year, she's kind of looked as a veteran. And so even with some of those key players out of the lineup at Four Nations Cup, I think is what they call it, she was kind of relied upon and had a big weekend against a team and a program that has typically played UND, had the knack of playing them tough. And over the years, there have been some great battles between the two schools. So it was nice to see this time on this weekend, North Dakota get some very big points. They kind of need to keep it going right now with as tight as the national picture is.
I didn't see them scoring that many goals without their two Finnish Olympians for sure. I remember, I think it was 4 years ago or 3 years ago when the Lamoureux twins had to leave for this tournament, and they missed them, and they might have scored 2 goals that weekend. You know, I guess the big question mark was whether they're going to be able to score this season without the twins. And now you take away not only them, but Carvinen and Tapani, and they put up 11 goals in one weekend. And this team is actually averaging more goals per game this year than they were last year.
We scored goals like that too against, you know, Bemidji State packed it in,
yep.
And which makes it very difficult to play against and hard to score a lot of goals against. That was the most impressive thing to me anyway.
Yeah, and then Saturday night, not only did they have those players missing, their top 2 scorers in the lineup were Defoe and Josephine Jakobsen, and neither of them had a point. So that shows how deep this team is and how they're getting contributions from everywhere.
There'll be no packing it in when Minnesota comes.
That's going to be that'll be a great game. That's in 2 weeks. UND goes out there trying to end their streak, which will likely be at 61 when UND goes there.
It's ridiculous.
It is.